The Barrel House is brought to you by you, the listener, and those of you who have chosen to support the show over at patreon.com/barrelhouse, especially our Whiskey Legend tier patrons, Greg, Katie, Lauren, and Joe. Without you, the show wouldn't be possible. Hello, and welcome to the Barrel House. Yes, and welcome back to the Barrel House. I am your host, Joe Kane, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Redwood Empire's Lost Monarch Bourbon and Rye Blend. But before we do, I was able to pick up a couple of pretty good picks on the way home from work this week that I'm pretty excited about. One, you all know Ardbeg near and dear to my heart in a way that I don't have the words for. I got a bottle of the Ardbeg, which is, I don't know, it's like 9 R's, 7 R's, 5 R's, whatever it is. It's a lot of R's. And that is the commemorative edition release Ardbeg finished in rum casks that they did for Mickey Heads, the distillery manager committee chair that is retiring. So that's a limited run bottle. It's a end of 2020, but I finally found one. And I'm pretty excited about it. I have not opened it yet. There's emotions attached to that bottle, but I'm excited to get into it when I do. The other thing I picked up was a Virginia Distillery Company sherry cask finished Virginia Highland whiskey store pick cask strength. That's a lot of words. It's a mouthful. That's a big name. They could probably streamline the title of that a little bit, but it's a really good. It's a blend of Highland Scotch whiskey. I can't really call it Scotch because it wasn't bottled in Scotland. That's a whole other thing. But it's a blend of Highland Scotch and Virginia whiskey. It's a cask strength sherry finish. It's very malty and it's very interesting. And I actually did. So some of you who are on the Patreon know. Some of you who aren't yet or haven't looked into it yet haven't seen these yet. But I do the first sip. And it's a series I'm doing over there to, like, I open a bottle on camera, shoot a little video, and I have my very first sip, my very first reaction with you guys, the viewers. You get to see what we find. I did a very first sip episode with that Virginia Distillery Company sherry cask finished Virginia Highlands whiskey store pick cask strength. And that's up now. So if you're interested in taking a look at that and seeing what the very first impression was like, you can get that over at patreon.com/barrelhouse. And if you do choose to do that, I would be very, very appreciative. If you can't or you don't want to, a great way to support the show is to tell everybody you know. Recommend the show, tell a friend, get the word out there, get more people here to listen. The more we have, the merrier. The live stream went really well last time. We've got another one coming up. That'll be this Friday. If you're listening to this the week it comes out. So that'll be, what is that? That is the 30th, Friday the 30th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you guys there. That'd be really great. The more the merrier. That's a lot of fun. The weeks that we have a lot of viewers are a lot more fun than the weeks with a few viewers, but they're all a great time. And we've been digging into some cool stuff lately. I have a couple ideas for this one that I'm pretty interested in getting into. So we're gonna check that out. I'm looking forward to it. With that said, though, let's get on with the show. So we're talking about Lost Monarch, right? Redwood Empire. Those of you that have caught the live streams know that I'm a big fan of what Redwood Empire is doing right now. Especially the value they're providing, the whiskey they're providing at the prices they're providing it at is crazy. Pipe Dream, Emerald Giant, this Lost Monarch, I haven't had one yet. I didn't think was really, really great. And they're all in the $30 to $40 range, and it's crazy what you're getting. They're located in California and obviously named after that whole Redwood Empire region there. And they've got this great vibe about them. The bottles look cool. The labels are awesome. They have really great art. They're very steeped in nature. They plant a tree for every bottle they sell. They've got 250,000 trees planted, something like that. They seem to really value the environment and the people and the whiskey of the community. It's really great. And maybe I'm easily gotten to here, but just their whole vibe really, really gets me. I really like it a lot. And they even had this great passage that I'm going to read to you on their website and under their Our Story section that I feel like is just cool as hell. I don't know. I guess it kind of reminds me of a cowboy in a commercial. You know what it makes me think of? I know what it makes me think of. It makes me think of Sam Elliott, and I don't know why, but it definitely gives me Sam Elliott vibes, right? I wish I could do a good Sam Elliott impression when I read this, but I can't. So you're gonna have to deal with me reading it. Just try to imagine Sam Elliott's reading this, like Sam Elliott sitting at the bar talking to Jeff Bridges in The Big Lebowski, right? Just sometimes a man. Just remember that part, okay? Think of that. A man once said, between every two redwoods, there's a gateway to another world. An elevated place of wild beauty and possibility, of dew-dropped bliss and dancing dappled light. The people who live up here don't care about the things most other people do. They don't care about success or failures. They don't dream of being internet famous, or they don't speak reverently about forgettable things. They follow their own way. They listen to what their heart wants. They raise the stakes and rise up to the occasion. They breathe a more rarefied air. Up here, you can find a higher form of magic. You can find fellowship that lifts, and you can let your soul fly. Drink among giants. Doesn't that get you? It's like Redwood, the Emerald Giant, the biggest tree. I don't know, I just like that. I think that's really something cool. But their whole vibe is very much like that, and I'm down for it. I'm so down for it. So like I said, Lost Monarch is named after the largest redwood currently around, and it is a blend of bourbon and rye. The blend is 60% rye and 40% bourbon whiskey. It's not the rye is a 95% rye, 5% malted barley, and the bourbon is 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. So it's a pretty high rye bourbon and a very high rye. It has a 3-year age statement. The bourbon is reported to be 5 to 12 years old, but Redwood Empire included some of their own rye distillate, which, like I've said before, the age statement is the youngest whiskey in the bottle, so they put their own distillate in. It brought the age statement down quite a bit. But I'll tell you what, it didn't negatively affect the whiskey at all. On the nose, you get a little bit of that rye baking spice, but it's pretty subdued. But you get hit with like brown sugar and butter, a subtle sweet corn. I think a lot of that corn from the bourbon comes through. And there's this sweet orange vanilla creamsicle kind of thing that comes through. It's such a rich, complex nose. It's really great. Like I said, there's a little bit of rye spice coming through, the baking spices, some cinnamon and stuff, but you would expect a lot more with the rye content of this thing. The rye influence is a lot stronger on the palate though. Getting into the palate, it's midway through the palate, that spice comes through, you get a good hit of it. You get a little dark cherry, you get a little orange peel, just a hint of like that slightly bitter citrusy orange peel. That's a note that I really love. I mean, this is like just by chance the third or fourth kind of in a row or very recently that have had that orange peel note, and I'm really digging it. You definitely taste the corn. It's a sweet, dusty corn. And you get you get caramel, and it's this buttery coating. You get the slightest bit of dill as the palate starts to thin out, which is definitely a rye thing, but it's so subtle, and it's a thing. So typically that dill note in rye is what turns me off of a lot of ryes. Not all ryes have it, but the ones that do, I'm not a big fan of that dill note, but it's so subtle here. I actually think it's kind of additive. I actually kind of like it. It adds a little balance to the sweet bourbony notes that we're getting normally. The rye spice, I can get a little bit of that like rye bready rye spice on this, but it really does not. Midway through the palate, like I said earlier, it comes in pretty good, but it's fleeting. It comes in pretty good, you catch it for a bit, and then it's back out. I'm really surprised there's not way more rye influence in this, considering how high the rye content of this whiskey is. They've done a great job getting that balance, and I really can't. I've had high rye bourbons that had a spicier rye influence than this does. It's really impressive what they're able to do there. The finish is the sweetest part of the whole thing. All of that kind of slight bitter citrus and the dustiness from the corn, all that disappears. The rye spices kind of all disappear. You get pretty much nothing but like this surge of vanilla bean with a little bit of brown sugar and caramel that kind of coat your mouth. You get a little bit, finally, a little bit of the barrel influence here in the finish. You get a little bit of tannin, a little dry oakiness, but it's not crazy. And then a sweet bit of orange that just lingers on past everything else in a really pleasant way. It's really fantastic. I'm a big fan of what this whiskey is putting down. So I think this is a slightly difficult bottle to find. At least out here, I very rarely see it. That makes sense to me though. I mean, considering how fantastic, how complex, how easy to drink and also easy to explore this whiskey is, and that it's $40. I paid $38 for this bottle, I think. It's borderline shocking to me that they can make this at that price, or that they're willing to distribute it at that price. Maybe this is a thing because it's a relatively new distillery. They're trying to stay cheap to stay competitive. Maybe this is something that ends up slowly increasing in price over the next 10 years and this conversation doesn't age super well. But I just can't believe, like this, if I could always find this would easily be my daily drinker. Hands down, it's so good. Right now, my most common daily drinkers are like Eagle Rare or Wild Turkey 101. I might get a Buffalo Trace if I can find it. If I'm looking at a Scotch, I might dip into, a Monkey Shoulder or one of the lower tier Glenlivets, something like that. I've actually been kind of digging the Compass Box Great King Street Glasgow blend lately as a really good daily for like $32 that I've been able to find pretty regularly around here. But finding that stuff, finding a good daily that you can afford to have on a relatively, now when I say daily, I actually don't drink daily. I probably drink 3 to 4 days a week. But having something that you're willing to sip on 4 days a week and continue to enjoy it and also can afford to do so, it's hard to find those. And I really think this is a great one. If I could find this all the time, it would really enter my daily rotation in a pretty strong way. I mean, I still don't know how they got all that rye in there without it just tasting really high rye, right? It has rye influence. You can definitely find some of the rye influence, but it doesn't overpower anything. And I have made blends here, just fooling around, where I put like a little bit of a rye in and the whole whiskey turns to rye. It's crazy to me that this is 60% rye, and the rye that they use is 95% rye in the mash bill, and then it's a 20+% rye bourbon, and it just tastes so balanced. It tastes like a very easy blend of the two. It's really great. It's crazy, and I'm a big fan. If you can't tell, if you haven't picked up on it already, I'm a really big fan of this, and I really can't say enough how much you should go buy this if you can find one. If you can find this, if it's on your shelf, I'm imagining in parts of the country it's probably a lot easier to find on where I'm at in the entire wrong coast. I hope you guys can find it. Go out and grab it. Pick up a bottle, let me know what you think. I think you'll like it. With that said though, that's all we got for today on Redwood Empire Lost Monarch. Send your questions, comments, concerns to me at barrelhousepodcast@gmail.com. Hit me up on the Discord at eargluemedia.com/Discord. As always, you should definitely be rating and reviewing the show on iTunes. That makes a huge difference and it's super appreciated. You can get your social media links, email links, website links, live stream links, merch links, all that, Patreon, all that stuff at barrelhousepodcast.com. And of course, you can go to patreon.com/barrelhouse and be a supporter there because you're freaking awesome and you love the show and it means a lot to me. And above all else, spread the word, tell everybody, bring as many people as you can into the fold. We're starting to get a pretty cool community of really great people interacting with this show, and I would love to see that grow and really get to talk to a lot more of you one-on-one, on Discord, during the live streams, whatever, emails, whatever it is. I would love to hear from more of you. So spread the word, get it out there, let everybody know. I appreciate you all so much. And with that said, be well, and I'll see you when I see you. The Barrel House is written, produced, and hosted by Joe Kane, and it's a proud member of the Earglue Media Network. Views and opinions expressed on this show belong only to the mouth they came out of, and as always, please remember to drink responsibly. Slàinte Mhaith.